Two.
Morning everyone, and welcome to day 14 of the 30-day strength challenge. So we're really starting to get through the days now, and we're ticking off quite a few different muscle groups. But one muscle group that I wanted to revisit today, which we haven't really focused on in all that much detail yet, are the oblique muscles. So the oblique muscles are responsible for controlling our rotational or sideways movements. So they're particularly relevant if you do a sport that requires a lot of change of direction, so a lot of team sports, or a lot of racket sports which requires a lot of rotation through the trunk. Also, if you're a runner, the obliques I find tend to be quite weak in this population, and as a result you see quite a lot of dysfunction when you analyse the gait cycle. So for example, I've talked previously about the importance of the glute medius muscle in stopping this inward migration of the knee, or the knock knee stance as we call it, but also the obliques have a part to play in preventing that as well. Also, quite often we see a lot of runners having this, what we call a contralateral hip drop. So if we're standing, say, on the right leg, which is the stance leg, then the pelvis might tip to one side, to the left hand side. So obviously you can see that line where the waistband isn't going to be level, it's actually going to be tilted down. So this is as a result of weakness in the glute medius on the stance leg, but also weakness in the oblique muscles on this leg as well, and obviously vice versa. So if it was left leg was stance leg and you were dipping on the right, then it's weakness in these oblique muscles and this sort of glute medius. Now that contralateral hip drop can cause quite a few problems, including ITB syndrome or also lower back pain in runners. So it's important that we try and fix that whenever we spot it. So we're going to do an exercise today. We're going to do lots of variations of this exercise as well to start training our obliques, because we tend to focus a lot more attention on the front abs, or the six-pack sort of muscles. But we don't tend to focus as much on the side muscles, so that's what we're going to have a look at today. So again, a resistance band is useful for this, but I will give you a alternative if you don't yet have a resistance band. So we're going to tie it to something, and we're going to work up the difficulties here. So we're going to start off basic, and then we're going to work up the levels. So I'm going to show you lots of variations today. So we want to have a bit of tension in the band to start with, and what we're going to do, we're going to go down into sort of a half squat position like so. Okay, and remember our squatting technique, we want our feet to be pointed slightly outwards so that our knee alignment is good. We want to be poking our bum out behind us so that we get that glute activation as well, and obviously engage our core, because these are essentially the muscles we're going to be working. So what we're going to do from this position, we're going to essentially move the band from this way. Now you can use a hold here, so an isometric contraction. I'm going to move slightly further out actually, so it's a bit more difficult. Okay, so if you use this isometric contraction, you should be able to feel the obliques trying to resist that movement, because essentially the band wants to pull us back that way. So it's a job of the oblique muscles to resist that movement just there. You should also hopefully be able to feel it in the sort of glutes as well. Okay, but also to make it a little bit harder, we can start to move the band like so. So then we start using those lengthening contractions. If you really find it difficult, then you can bring the arms closer to the chest. But if you can, just try and extend your arms, because that increases the difficulty. Okay, so that's level 1. Now level 2 will be to go into a lunge. So this is where we start to require a bit more balance and a bit more stability. So again, we want to stop that knee from migrating inwards against the resistance of the band. So we're going to activate these muscles and these muscles all the way down the side of our body just here. So again, we can do the isometric hold, and then we can start to move the band as well. So we're using a range of different muscle contractions here. So again, feel free to adjust it, but again, if you can, try and keep your arms out and extended. And another way, of course, you can adjust the difficulty is to move inwards if it's too difficult, so the band's not stretching as far, or if it's too hard, move back out. Oh, it's too easy, sorry. Move back out. Okay, so that's level 2. Level 3 is to stand on one leg completely. So this is really challenging. So again, you can do the isometric hold, or you can do sideways movement. So that band is obviously going to want to pull you that way. So obviously don't let it happen. So obviously my rules on failure still apply. So if you feel that knee collapsing inwards at any point, then obviously that's failure. And this is really testing your balance. So I quite like this this exercise, because much like when we did the glute hyperextensions, exercising the glute max several days ago, this is also a bit more specific to running, because we could do like a side plank or a Russian twist on the mat or something like that. But again, because we're standing up and we're load bearing, this is what we're going to be doing when we're running. And again, we're on one leg. We're not going to have a double stance phase while we're running. Okay, so if you can work up to this condition, then that's better. So we also want a slight bend in the knee when we're doing it on one leg, just so that we can really test that ability to resist that knock knee sort of motion as well. If you don't have a resistance band yet, then you can use a kettlebell or something else that's heavy, and you can do basically exactly the same again. So we're gonna, I'll show you the first one first. So we can move from side to side with the resistance band in that level 1 position. We can do it in a lunge. Or of course we can do it standing on one leg with that knee slightly bent. So I think some of you might struggle with this in terms of your balance, so this is another benefit of doing the exercise. So you need to work on those basic fundamental skills. Okay, so see how you get on with that. Again, keep liking, sharing the videos to your friends. See if you can get as many of your friends on board as you possibly can. And I'll see you tomorrow for day 15.